We start this morning with Port Adelaide, a team that had opened gaping possibilities only to squander them in the past 2 weeks. They're in a group of teams contending for the top four, while they're also just fighting to make the eight. Their scoring has collapsed, which runs counter to how we perceive the power, and if it doesn't return, the run home looks treacherous. And Port was given a solid working over by Gary Lyon and Paul Roos on the couch.
They're an emotional bunch for Port Adelaide.
They win.
I've never seen so many blokes throw their arms out at umpiring decisions and think they're the most hard done by group going around. Put your nose over. Wingard, Dixon, Tommy Rockcliffe, always got plenty to say. Now's the time, boys. 5 weeks to go. You've got enough talent to finish in the top four. Stop worrying about everyone else. Put your head over the footy and start to play the footy.
You're right. This team, so we're talking 5 years, they haven't got back to a prelim, they haven't got to a grand final. This is almost the biggest underachieving footy team in the last 5 years with the talent they've got.
That's the backdrop for the team that sits fifth. Which way are they going? Ken Hinkley is the man who's looking for solutions, and he's with us on 1116 SEN. Ken, good morning.
Morning, Jared.
Over the past 2 weeks, have you blown the opportunity to set up your season?
Look, we haven't helped it greatly, obviously, but no, it's a full season, so we're still in a reasonable position when you consider the ladder and our opportunities, so it's still there for us to make a fair bit out of.
What's your primary concern at the moment, Ken? Is it the inability to score?
Yeah, it is. Yep, yeah, it's clearly our issue at the moment. You know, we went from last year being, I think, the second highest scoring team really in the competition. This year we're way down on the ladder. So, yeah, it's a significant concern for us, one that we're working really hard at trying to solve quickly.
So why has it happened? Why over the past 2 weeks in particular where it seems so stark?
Yeah, no, we were just, the game against Fremantle, we were just well and truly off our game altogether, and we just didn't have any fluency about us at all. We were slow with the ball, and the opportunities that we then did have, we were kicking it away more than we would normally do. So, and then this week we played a quality opposition, obviously, and it was a pretty tough game. And we blew some chances with the opportunities we had to hit the scoreboard from finish. Not that we didn't get the finish. The opportunities we had to hit the scoreboard with finish were really poor. Is
your game out of balance in a moment like that, or do other areas lead to the inability to score? How do you prescribe it? No,
I think it's more our ability to score than being out of balance, because we still had 58 entries in the game. You know, we still had plenty of opportunities to have the score. It's our ability to complete that last part of the chain, is either going inside 50 kick or when we're inside 50, our opportunity to hit the scoreboard with our shots. You know, there was a couple of times even in the last quarter where you think, gee, we're going to turn that into a score, and we were just unable to complete it. It's probably typical of a team that's just a little bit off at the moment.
So during the week, how do you work on that?
We spend a lot of time on our connection drills, as we'd call them, and that's our 50 to 70 inside 50. So, you know, there's a lot of work getting done on that every week with us, because we have made no secret that we've tried to improve our finish even at the end of last season. We certainly haven't done that. We've in fact gone backwards in that space, so we've just got to continue to work in that space.
There are criticisms building, Ken. At this time of year, are you aware of those, or do you shut right off?
No, I'm certainly, I try to stay aware of most things, but I certainly shut off a lot of the commentary.
As Paul Roos said last night, that this is almost the biggest underachieving footy team in the last 5 years with the talent that they've got. Do you think there's any merit in that?
Oh no, look, it's an easy spot to sit and make those sort of calls. We're not hiding away from the fact that we wish we were doing better than we have been. You know, in the last 5 years, I'm not sure. In my 6 years, well, certainly in the first 5 years, look, we've made the finals a number of times. We've made a prelim final. We haven't been able to complete the task. We haven't probably been as good as the best teams in the competition in any of those years. And we've had a couple of disappointing seasons, no doubt about that, but that's an opinion of Paul's, one which I respect, but one which I don't take too much notice of.
And Gary Lyon says your players out on the field whinge too much. They engage too much with umpires' decisions and act like they're hard done by. Do you see that from afar?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's a really important, it's an amazing thing to say from Gary Lyon, who's not out in the field with the players, I imagine, but I don't think there's any doubt in any team that there's disappointment within players and within decisions and within moments. I don't think we're over the top in that place, but look, if we thought we were, we'd be trying to do something about that.
The issue of personnel feels very real, and especially when Paddy Ryder is not there. Is that just a reality that you are very reliant on a dominant ruckman?
Yeah, look, it's hard to deny. I mean, we certainly do rely a lot on Paddy, and as I've said a number of times, he's a key ingredient in our team. But we've also had Jonas out for the last couple of weeks as well. We're not dissimilar to any team, and we're talking about the Giants now who are getting going. There's no secret they're starting to get their personnel back. Crows are starting to get going. They've got some personnel back. We're having our time where we've got some key personnel, and that's the key part, isn't it? Is the type of personnel you're missing. We've got Ryder missed a large chunk of the season. We've got Jonas now missing 4 or 5 games in our season. I think they finished 1-3 in our best and fairest last year, so there's no secret.
When might Paddy be back?
Look, we haven't put a line for him totally for this week, but the likelihood is he won't play this week, but we would expect he'll be playing the following week. And
Tom Jonas?
About the same time frame.
And Steve Motlop?
Yeah, Stephen was crook, unfortunately, from the weekend. He just pulled out of the game with about 15 minutes before the game, so we'd expect that he would recover pretty well and be available this week.
Did you ask for any clarity from the umpires around the positioning of Phil Davis on the mark for the Chad Wingard kick?
Yeah, we certainly inquired about what the distances are, because from my understanding, the man on the mark has a 10-metre side to him each way, east-west, where he has to have 10-metre clearance. And, we certainly, I don't believe that's what we've seen and we saw, but the explanation back from the umpiring department, I think, was along the lines that there was a bit in that whole incident that they perhaps would review themselves.
Maybe the rush behind as well?
I think that may be part of it, but, the setting up of wherever players were or were not, and, where they line chat up, lots of things that they would, I think, check out.
Do you feel like you've got a tough run in? Bulldogs in Adelaide and Bulldogs in Ballarat and Adelaide, West Coast, Collingwood, Essendon, all teams who are in this 12-team mix.
Yeah, we are, but I think every team in the competition feels like they've got a hard run in. It's that competition. It doesn't, we've seen just ourselves 2 weeks ago into Freo lost. We've seen Sydney on the weekend lose to the Suns. We've seen Geelong come from 29 points down and win in a thriller against Melbourne. There's just so much still to be played out in this season with 5 rounds to go. It's amazing for the teams from probably, to be fair, from 3 right through to about 13th. They've got a lot going on at the moment, and at some moments I'm sure we're all feeling a little nervous.
Do you still feel like you've got a key role to play in it?
Yeah, we have. If we play our best footy, there's no doubt. We've positioned ourselves over the course of the season that we're right in the battle for top 4. Now, that's our challenge, but we're also, right now, we sit in the battle for the top 8. So you got to keep a focus on what you need to do.
So you've spoken about the evenness there. What about the top end? What's your perception of the best teams?
Oh, look, you play them at different times. You only get one opportunity most of the time to play the sides. I see Richmond looking strong, looking like they've got a completion of what they like to do, and I see West Coast getting some personnel back and, opening up a gap on the rest, and it's really clear. And we just come off the Giants on the weekend, and we played the Giants on the weekend, bar the first quarter. I think, the score was 7-10 or 7-9 to 7-8. So it's a pretty close game, but they've got some more improvement. You can sense they've got a little bit of that momentum that you like to get hold of, and, they're certainly coming hard.
Do you feel like, it's urgent now, and as you point out, it's urgent for a lot of teams. Do you want the players to feel that, or can that create an anxiety which is counterproductive? I
think the reality of that is, Jared, they have to feel it, and they will feel it, because they're not unlike anyone else. They would look and see where the positions are on the ladder. They look and see where our team is on the ladder, and they will feel some nervousness about that, which is what you should expect.
What have you learned about Ballarat and the one trip that you've made there?
It's cold.
Yes.
But no, the rest of it's pretty good. It's a good little boutique stadium. I was up there last year and was quite surprised at how well it is, because having come from the Western District myself, I was aware of North Ballarat ground, and the changes are significant there, and it's a really good little stadium. I'm sure the Bulldogs will make it a really important part of their future.
The bigger picture, Ken, the competition committee meets tomorrow, and I think everybody understands the significance of that. What was your assessment of the Steve Hocking presentation?
Oh, look, I think there's some change, no doubt, coming, and there's some significant change coming at some point. It's just a matter of where that all lands, and I think the key part for us as coaches, or particularly for me, is that I just like to let that be done by the decision makers and let them go through what they think they need to do, and look at the game. The game's exciting, the game's close, the game's got some things going for it. There's some parts of the game that I'm sure everyone would like to see a little bit better. So I'm certainly open to whatever it is they put up. But again, I think let's just put it up and tell us what it's going to be, and and let's move on with it together. Are
you convinced that there should be rule change?
No, I'm not convinced there should be rule change, but that doesn't mean that I'm certainly right nor wrong, but it just suggests to me that, I work in the game daily, so I suppose it's really hard. I think the game today is pretty good, and we play a pretty aggressive, we play a pretty demanding game. But if anything that we've done in this game, I think it's always based around making the game better. If you try to make the game better, I think your intent's right, and then we just see what happens.
The degree of change, I think, will be debated as well, and starting points is the starting positions is the far end of that. Have you seen a bit of the under-18 footy with starting positions?
Yeah, I have, Jared. I've seen quite a lot of it this year, and went live to watch a lot of it, which was important as well. I mean, not just to see the young talent coming through, but to see some of the the starting positions and some of the rules and how it affects games. I think we've got to be a little bit careful in that space because we see reasonably even teams with good talent playing the game. My concern is with the starting positions with, if it may just create a bigger divide between some of the top and bottom sides, which we hope doesn't happen. We may have some potential to have some big blowouts, but I'm only surmising. I'm not knowing for certain, but, having watched it, there's some parts where you look at it, that looks pretty good. I reckon that looks like it gives some opportunity and some space. But you just got to be a little bit careful, I reckon.
How significantly would you like to see it trialled before it was seriously thought about being implemented?
I think that's the key ingredient. You have to trial it at the highest level, and you have to see what it does, and you have to have a good, clear understanding of what it might do. It's good in under-18 football. It'll be great to see it if they can possibly trial it in senior football. I think that's a key ingredient for me, is that we need to see it at senior level if we possibly can. I know that's really challenging because of the situation, but if you're going to make such significant changes, I think it probably justifies making such significant or having such significant trials now. If that means inside a game, I think that would be great. It's just a matter of how you do that. So
a game that doesn't have huge ramifications late in the season for the ladder.
Yeah, well, I think, VFL level or SANFL level, it's waffle levels, but all those comps don't want to be compromised either. Yeah. But, positions on the ladder, is it possible? If we're going to make big change, I think if anything's possible, well, let's probably get as much information as we possibly can without making too big a deal.
Do you think the biggest challenge for the game is the rules, or do you think it's elsewhere, potentially the talent? Yeah, I think talent becomes a bit of an issue, Jared, for mine. It's, we've brought two teams into the competition in the last 8 to 10 years. We've spread the talent thin. We keep looking for the opportunities. And some of the challenges that I see is the ability, like I'm dealing with a team, our own team, that struggles with kicking, but I'm not the only coach that thinks that we struggle with kicking. You go through that and you go, where's the talent? Where are we producing the talent from? You see over the weekend, you see people like Mason Cox, Zach Tui kicking a goal after the siren. It's great that we've got a sprinkling of internationals, but our biggest part of our talent obviously comes from our home, and are we developing that as well as we can? I think that's really important. And I think when you see the sides today, if we went 10 years ago, the bottom 4 or 5 players in each side perhaps wouldn't be playing AFL football. Now, that's good that they're playing some AFL football, but that's going to affect what that produces on the ground. And I think that's where some of the rule changes and some of the other stuff may be getting confused. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll wait and see. Ken, I know you've got a big day ahead. Thanks for your time this morning. Thanks, Jared.